Hello everyone, welcome back. We're still going through our perspective drawing series and with a focus on 2-point perspective. The last video we talked about, or I got into 2-point perspective distortion, or how distortion takes place in 2-point perspective. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you've been experimenting with that and playing around with it and seeing what you can do with that. Again, leave some comments and let me know how working with that is going for you. Okay, so in this video we are going to get into perspective grids. Okay, so right off the bat, the first thing I want to sort of illustrate real quick is let's say you have a line like that, right? Just an arbitrary line. I'm not going to take any measurement, so it's from, say, here to here. Okay, and you don't know the length of this line. You want to subdivide this line, and maybe for whatever reason you want to be kind of quick about it. You don't feel like doing any math in your head or whatever. Here's a quick way to subdivide a line. You don't know the length of this line. And maybe maybe you measure it and the measurement is kind of off. It's like 3 inches and 2 3/4 inches or something like that, and you don't feel like doing the subdivision. You want to divide it into like 5 different subdivisions. Here's what you do. So you approach the line. It could be vertical, it could be horizontal, and you come to one end of it and just draw a line at any angle. But the line you draw has to be shorter than this actual line. So I'll take the green pen here and just draw a line, and let me, just to make sure that it's shorter, I will mark this as the end. So let's forget about this part. Mark this as the end, or measure it out. That's what I should have done. So let's make it 3 inches, like that. So let's get rid of all that. 3 inches from this point to this point right here. Okay, and I'm gonna just go ahead and subdivide that equally. By 1/2 inch, which gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 divisions. So once you've done that, go back to this line at this point at the end and connect this point to the end of this line, like this. Make sure it connects properly. Okay. Let's see. All right, and then once you've done that, let's see, there we go. Yeah. Once you've done that, set up your triangle, your ruler, or whatever other tool you've got, and make sure that you line it up with that new green line, and then every line from every subdivision that goes to this line absolutely has to be parallel to this first line. Like that. This is a pretty quick technique. I'm doing it a little, sort of taking my time here. Oops. If you go off, you can just go back and line yourself up again. My ruler just slipped. So that's a quick way of just getting this particular line subdivided. Okay, that's a quick way of doing it when you don't know the length of this line. So take note of that. Come back and watch this part if you need to. We are going to make use of this later. Okay, so still roughly interesting. Still working kind of roughly here. The setup that we're going to go for with our grid is, okay, I go ahead and I'm going to make this kind of small, this example kind of small. Here's our first vanishing point, and here's our second vanishing point. Okay, and so what I want to do is set up like a corner wall, so to speak. So something like that. And in this particular case, I mean, you can set it up any way you want, this vertical any way you want, but for this example, I'm going to keep the length between the bottom here and the horizon line, and then from the horizon line to the top, this will be shorter than this top line, so this will be higher up here. Okay, so that's what I've got going on. And what you want to do is strike a line straight through the top and bottom from your vanishing points, from both vanishing points. Okay, so you'll get that radiating line going that way, and these sets of radiating lines going the other way. Okay, and what you have in essence is a corner wall right here. Might as well use, so you have, I'm going to darken it so to make it really clear. So you have this corner wall, or this corner rather, and then you have this back wall. So, and then you have this side wall. So corner, side wall, side facing wall, and then this is your, say, your back wall, or the wall on the other side. Okay, so what you have in essence here is this wall, but and yes, it looks like we're just drawing a room. It's not a room. We're just using this as a model, just as a basis to help us establish our grid. A few things to keep in mind. Thinking of it as a simple room or corner of a room can help you just remember how to get back into constructing this. So that's a good thing. Don't be super rigid about it, because just remember that this wall is very flexible. Imagine that these parts here are on rolling tracks such that you can push this wall as far back as you need to get whatever you want. And the same thing with this wall. You can push this as far back as you need to. So you can probably, let's say we go all the way back here, then we'll get something like that. So if you need to create more space or whatever, you absolutely have the flexibility to do that. Whoops, that didn't take for some reason. Absolutely have the flexibility to do that. Same thing here. Okay, so let me just do a quick example here. I might have to erase it so I don't create any confusion for anybody. I don't want this getting confusing. So let's say you decide that you want, that wall to go that far back. Okay, so you have your wall, and the wall can go further back. Okay, or you can push this wall further back to get that wall. Okay, so remember that. All right, so just keep that in mind. Yeah. All right, so I've gone ahead and made a few copies. I've drawn out and copied a few of these so that we can get started on we can get going on the concept here, and I can show you a few different ways of laying out your grid. All right, so okay, so let's say we have, one thing you can do is mark the end of your wall. Here's the VP1 here, and then there's VP1, VP2 right here, vanishing point 2, vanishing point 2 right here, and vanishing point 1 right here, okay? So let's say we want the end of this wall to be here, okay? And this is an arbitrary ending. It doesn't have to be like the absolute end of the wall. So this can be very arbitrary, but for the purposes of this example, we're gonna make this the end of this wall, and we're gonna make this part the end of this wall right here, okay? So going back to some of the examples I gave when we were talking about circles in perspective and curves in perspective, ellipses and whatnot, breaking up your rectangle, that's what you want to do here, okay? So, or finding the center of your rectangle, that's what you want to do here. So basically what you're going to do is, let me use the green again. All right, you want to go from one corner to the opposite corner and create that X. Do this in a way that I can see it. Create that X. That gives you the center of the wall. Okay, so I'm going to go into a little bit of detail here. I'm feeling myself, giving myself some pressure to hurry up, but I'm going to go into a little bit of detail, so this video might be a little longer than I'd like. So feel free to take breaks as needed if you want to. Okay. So once you get that, go ahead and draw a vertical line straight through that center. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with this wall. Like so. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure I get the vertical line going through the center of that wall. Okay, so, and for this, I'm assuming that we want to subdivide the wall equally, okay? So that's what I'm going for here. If you want to, if later on as you experiment with this, you want to just try like asymmetrical subdivisions or whatever, or unequal subdivisions, you can feel free to try that, work that out. If you like doing that, hey, that's, you know, you can do that too, and it's nothing saying that you can't do that. There's no rule saying that you can't do that. All right, so we've got the two walls split in half, and what we want is to get multiple equal subdivisions like that. But we want it to be, we definitely want it to be equal. All right, so what do we do next? Well, we subdivide it again in the exact same way. So just find the center of that. And I'm just going to eyeball this right here because I trust my eyes. I trust my eyeballing skills. There we go. And the same thing over here. Paying attention to where my lines are. All you have to do is just follow the line to whatever corner, and it'll tell you which one you're working with. There's my subdivision. I'll eyeball that. Get that middle point. And so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to subdivide that further. So this is the middle right here, and I've got 2 subdivisions. Middle here, 2 subdivisions. I want to further subdivide each one. So I'll go here and do the exact same thing. I'll mark that. I'll go here and do that. Pretty much repeat the process. Rinse and repeat. And that gives me that. Let me bring this up a little bit. Like so. And like so. There we go. And then I'll do the same thing over here. Just a quick tip, you guys are noticing it already. As soon as I get that center, I mark it. I don't like wait to come back to it later, because just on the off chance that I get a little confused by that, and then I come back here because I've marked each one accordingly in a way that I can read it and see it. I come back here and just rule in my verticals. Okay, I'm just doing it quickly, so it might be a little rough. And I'm eyeballing it, so it might be a little slightly off here and there. Okay, so there's my wall subdivided. I'm gonna just come here and darken the line, put a dark pencil line over it so that you can see it clearly and tell the difference between the finalized line and the construction line. Okay, and then because you're getting the effect of perspective, it's going to widen and widen, but according to the construction, these are equally apart. So if we laid this out flat and you're looking at it head on, it would all be equal divisions, okay? But when you spread it out using perspective, this is the kind of breakdown you get, all right? And then if you want to subdivide it even further, you can do that. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing over here. I'm gonna just do that real quick so that we can just get a full picture. And you know what, let me use a different color for that. Let me use blue, so that when you guys are looking at it, you can see the difference. I'm gonna just do that real quick. I'm gonna eyeball that. I need to clean up my tabletop, it's getting cluttered. It's good that you guys can't see it. Let's keep it that way. pencil and go ahead and put in those vertical subdivisions. Whoops, that's at a weird angle. Okay, so there you have it. So vertically, your wall, these two walls are subdivided. That's one way of doing it, okay? So let me set this aside for a second. So that's one way of doing it. I'm gonna go through a few different methods and maybe arrive at the one that's sort of like my favorite. You are free to work out whichever one appeals to you best. Okay, so in this one, all right, so in this one, excuse the dead air there. Okay, this is not what I want to use. Put this away. In this one, what I want to do is have a few subdivisions here along this vertical corner, okay? And I'm just going to do that by hand real quick. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3. You know what? Let's do it this way. Try not to have subdivisions right on the horizon line. You want to keep that and your other construction completely separate. As a rule, that's how I like to do things. It saves a lot of confusion. I don't like running construction lines along with, I don't like to have them mixed up like that. So let's just do this. It's going to be imperfect. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And then 5, 6, I guess, with the top and bottom. That's already in there, so you get the gist. All right, so my vanishing point. Let's use this vanishing point. So let's say I have those subdivisions. So basically from vanishing point 2, I project these horizontal lines. You know what, let me use a color. There's a color for that, so let's get rid of that. I love this eraser, but I have to be careful because it has a nice grip on the paper. If you're not holding it properly, you could rip your sheet or have it fold in a way that you don't like. Yeah, let's use blue again. Like so. Alright. Project that line out. And so we have our horizontal subdivisions along that wall. Okay? Now, if you remember from when I was drawing the ellipse, so I can have an ending to the wall there. So just going back to when I had like the full rectangle and I wanted to draw a complete ellipse, what I did was I connected the two corners, and then, you know, I had that and that, and then I was able to draw my ellipse, right? So can you apply that here? Yes, you can, but let's look at how that turns out, how that'll turn out. So I'm going to go from this corner to the other corner, just one line. There's only one line that's necessary. because now we're trying to get the vertical lines of that wall, vertical divisions of that wall. Okay, so let's look at what happens. So when you follow the vertical line up, wherever it intersects with the horizontal line, you make a mark, like so, all the way up to the top. All right, and then you come with your ruler, and where it makes that intersection, you drop a perpendicular vertical line until you get to the end of that wall. But let's look at what's happening though. Look at what's happening. Look at how wide those divisions are, right? I'm not crazy about those at all. Now, what you can do is come here and sub along the vertical corner here. You can subdivide that a little further, and that will in turn break this up and give you smaller divisions. Okay, you can try that, or if you like this wider spread, hey, you can work with that too. I'm not crazy about this technique. I'm sure there are some times when I'll just probably use it just to use it, but in terms of a grid, a strong, tight grid, I'm not crazy about this at all. Okay, I'll probably use this for something else entirely, but not for a grid. Okay, so, and then let's say you've got this in place. So you've got your verticals now, you've got your horizontals. You can just extend these out using vanishing point 1 to hit these points and extend it out to this wall. All right, and then of course using vanishing point again, using vanishing point 1 again, hit these points, extend these lines out onto the floor, onto the ceiling, and then repeat this same process. Put a line here to mark the end of the wall, repeat the same process, and get your verticals. But the funny thing is that it'll look wonky. It will look kind of wonky. Okay, so give that a try. You know what? Let me go ahead and do it. Let the video be long. I'm feeling myself wanting to rush through this, so let me do that. What I just mentioned, let me do that quickly so that you can at least see it. And you know what? Let me switch to orange. All right, and go ahead. Okay, there. And so I'm going to come with this. Connect those two corners. Like so. And then let's look at where they intersect. So I'm going to go ahead. Let me start here and drop those perpendicular lines, those vertical lines. All right. And so you have your grid on this wall. You sort of have your grid on this wall. Extend these out onto the ceiling. Extend these out onto the floor, and then extend these out onto the ceiling, these out onto the floor, and then you'll get your grid on both these parts, right? Okay, let me set this aside and go to the next technique. that I think works a little better. And in this technique, all right, so with this technique, what I'm going to do is, all right, so this side will be blue, this side will be orange, and then I'm about to apply this linear subdivision to get equidistant marks along this vertical edge right here. Okay. Let me use this bigger copy. Let me use that instead. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here with this line. Let me do it here instead. Again, doesn't matter what angle you use, just lay that down, let the line be shorter. And let me make it 1.5. Where don't you just go with 1 and go with 1.5 like that. So from here to here. Okay. And then so there we go. Then I'll subdivide this. All right, so I'm not going to go with a whole lot of subdivisions. Because if I go any smaller than that, it'll be hard to see. So there we go. And let me line that up. Definitely want you guys to see this part, so I better position myself properly. All right, there we go. So those are our equidistant subdivisions that we're going to be working with. Now, what you can also do is take your ruler, and if you break things, if you measure this out and then you break down the measurement and subdivide it equally, remember that, or well, let me tell you, this line here can serve as a constant, okay? So you can lay down your measurements here, but once those measurements are projected out, whatever the measurement is here, between here and here, when it's projected out here somewhere, or out here somewhere, I'm sorry, the measurement here is not going to be the same as the measurement here because of the effect of perspective, okay? So, but for both walls intersecting here, this line serves as a constant. These subdivisions along this line are fine, and even if they're projected out here, it will still represent whatever the length is here will still be represented here, or whatever the length is here will be represented out here or out here. Okay, because of this is nice, and this is a nice constant that you can work with. Okay, even if you push this wall back, say you push the wall back here, and then you use the vanishing point to bring this point over here, you know, it's still, the ratio will still remain the same. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and, yes, Now so we're trying to solve the problem of this vertical, okay? So at first we took this line, connected it all the way to the other end of the full rectangle or the full wall, and this is what we got, this wide spread of the division. And we're trying to avoid that here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come out here to the first division, and you just need to come out once. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna switch to centimeters because it's smaller. And I'm gonna go 1 centimeter on this side and 1 centimeter on the 1 centimeter up the line from the first vanishing point, and then 1 centimeter up the line from the second vanishing point, okay? And all you need is that first step. I'm off a little bit, I'm off a lot. Okay, somewhere there. All right, so we've got that, and we've got that, and I'll just take my ruler. So this is all what you need to do. Just one step out, and at that point, drop a horizontal line. Drop another horizontal line. Okay, that's all you need. Don't do anything else after that. Next, let's see, what did I say? This was gonna be the orange side. So I'm gonna take these subdivisions and get my horizontal lines on this wall. So we've got that. So just remember, for those of you watching the video, the lines here go back to vanishing point 1. I don't want them getting mixed up. I could let them get mixed up, but I don't want to. I want to keep it as clear as possible. That goes there like that. That's almost on the horizon line. That's why you can sort of see why I like to avoid mixing my construction lines with other major parts of the drawing. Okay, so we've got that, and we can see they're kind of long-ish. All right, let me go ahead and extend the lines using the blue pen for this side of the wall. Go. All right, so once we've got that, what you want to do, keep the blue pen open, what you want to do next is, instead of connecting, we don't even have to draw a wall here, an end point here or an end point here. So let's say we did have an end point. Instead of connecting from this corner to the opposite corner on this end point, what you're going to do is connect from this corner to this corner and extend that line out. So let's do that real quick. I'm going to use a small ruler. I'm going to use the orange pen, and what you do is connect that out to the top there, okay? And what that does is that it gives you this division, this division, and then this division at the top. And so you can go in there and subdivide that, or drop your subdivide it, drop your vertical all the way down. And then, oh no, I don't have any more subdivisions. What do I do next? You come down here, you go back to this corner right here, project a line through this corner, the opposite corner, all the way to the top, and you're good to go. It'll give you that, it'll give you that, give you that, and it'll give you that. And you just continue until you get to the end of that wall. Okay? And wall in quotes. Okay? It's a wall just there to help with the construction of your grid. Okay, so we're going off the page, but I'll just extend it anyway, as far as it can go, which gives me that and something off the page there. So you know, and as you can see, you can actually take this further out. Even with your vanishing point being here, you can take this further out and continue to build a grid. It'll get wider and wider, and then when you construct stuff in the space and you start to put objects here, that's where you can play around with the distortion of some of your shapes and objects. Let me say that again, because I was off the page, I think. Yeah, you can extend this even further out, and leave your vanishing point here, and even continue some of your compositions out here, and let your objects just be distorted, and you can have fun with that. Do what you want with that. Play around with that, experiment with that. All kinds of stuff. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing over here, because now we have this here. I'm going to come with blue, the blue pen, and extend this out, connect to that little corner, a little teeny tiny corner. Which will give me that point, that point, that point, and that point, and I will drop the vertical, drop the vertical, drop the vertical, drop the vertical. Oh my God, I forgot. What do we do again? We go back here, go down the line, go back one to this corner, connect it to this corner. I'm gonna need my long ruler. Let's see where it takes us. There we go. Will this allow me to, let me just use my long ruler. Drop my vertical. Now, I will say, I'm eyeballing it, and I'm sort of freewheeling it a little bit. When you guys do yours, make sure that your vertical lines are perpendicular with the horizon line. Mine are at a bit of an angle. They're parallel to each other, but I did that not paying full attention to my horizon line. You pay attention. Ooh, did I miss a spot? No, I didn't. False alarm. Sorry about that. False alarm. Yeah. So when you're dealing with these vertical, when you're dealing with these vertical lines, just make sure that everything is perpendicular to your horizon line. Okay, that's important to your construction, but mine's a little wonky. Okay, so with that done, I'm going to go ahead and complete the grid real quick. So, and I want you to see what happens when let's say your vanishing point came here. You can still work out your grid, and you can still see even more clearly where the distortion is going to take place, or within what area you want to work in if you don't want any distortion to happen in your composition. There we go. Excuse me. What I'll do is that I'll do all the, whoops, I slipped, messed up. I'll do the whole floor in orange and the ceiling there we go, the ceiling in blue. Okay, so we have that. Now, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Get over here, this and that. Okay, there's your grid. Let's switch over to the ceiling. We start here. And Missed one. For all you ASMR fans out there, let me know if the sound of that pen going over the paper is appealing in some way or grating to the nerves. All right, there is your 2-point perspective grid. That is how it works. I've shown you 3 different ways to do it. Okay, so this is the final way. This is the way I like to do it. This is the way, this is what makes me happy. Just looking at that, I'm pretty proud of it. Anyway, I hope you guys like it too. I hope it works for you. But then again, I've shown you 2 other ways. All right, where you can build up your grid. In this way, where it spreads, where the lines spread out, you can always come back in here and subdivide this vertical even further so that you can get smaller subdivisions here. I don't trust that. So this would be my least favorite way of doing it. I would do this for some other, like something else entirely. I would not use this as a grid. That's just my personal take. This method here, where I subdivided, where I just kept subdividing by connecting the corners, this would probably be my second favorite method, and I'll play with that a little bit more to see what I would do with that. I'm sure I'll find a use for that. This is the way. This is my preferred method right here. So try it out. Yes, I know the video for this was kind of long, but it needed to be because I really wanted to cover every single detail and I did not want to rush through any part of it. So take your time watching the video, take breaks as needed. Leave your comments down below. Let me know how working on this, how this works out for you. And again, keep the discussions down there positive and productive and constructive. All right. Okay, so this is the visual arts channel, Stractify. We are still in the 2-point perspective part of our perspective drawing series, and I will see you next time.